Hello, everybody. This is Kenton Taylor Howard, and today what we're going to do is build a very simple program in Unity and go through some basic concepts that will kind of introduce you to how Unity works. It's very common when you're learning a new programming language to make what programmers often refer to as a hello world program. And the only real thing you're trying to do here is basically display some text to the player's screen and then change the text when they do something. So it's pretty simple. The main goal of this is just to make sure that you've got Unity up and running on your computer, that you can make a Unity game, that you can open it, that you can test it, all that kind of fun stuff. So we're going to go through the process of making one of these from basically start to finish. If you haven't downloaded and installed Unity yet, at this point, you will need to stop and go ahead and do that because you'll have to have Unity installed in order to continue on with this process. If you've got Unity installed and you click on the icon on your desktop, for example, I have it down here on my desktop, you'll usually get what's referred to as the Unity Hub showing up on your computer. And you'll typically see a screen that looks something like this. It will show you different Unity projects that you've created already. And as you can see, I have a ton of them because I've been teaching this class for a while. But we're going to go ahead and make a new project this time around. So you're going to want to come over to this new icon and click on it. Once you've done that, it's going to ask you to give the project a name and to select from a few different options. Most of these options we're not going to be worrying about today. The important things we're going to do are give our project a name. We'll call it Hello World. We're also going to choose a location for our project, and what I would recommend doing is, I think I mentioned this in the web courses shell of the class as well, is deciding on a location on your computer where you're going to store a lot of your Unity projects. I have a folder here called Unity Stuff that's on my desktop, and that's where I place a lot of the Unity projects that I make, and it just keeps them organized and keeps them off my desktop. We're also going to go ahead and create a new folder so that we can actually keep our project somewhere new. And on Windows, you can do that by right-clicking. You'll see a menu pop up. If you select New and then Folder, you'll actually create a new folder. And we're going to call this folder Hello World Tutorial, something like that. Once you've created the folder, we're just going to select it. And that's telling Unity, I want you to keep my Unity project inside of this folder. Now today we're also going to be using 2D and not 3D. There's a couple different versions of Unity that you can use. If you select this template drop down over here, you'll see a lot of options. And you want to select the one on the top that says 2D because most of the early projects we're going to be building in this class are going to be 2D projects, and today in particular we're going to be working with a 2D project just to keep things simple and easy to do. So after that, you'll click the Create Project button. It will likely take a few minutes to create a project, so you'll have to kind of wait through the loading screens and all that kind of fun stuff, but once you've gotten through them, you'll see an empty Unity project pop up. So you'll kind of see these screens typically. So this is an empty Unity project. What we're seeing right now is essentially the default view of Unity, and we're seeing a Unity project that basically has nothing inside of it whatsoever. So this is more or less an empty game. That's kind of how you could think of it. One thing you'll probably want to check before you get started and before you do anything else in Unity is under the File menu. So you'll click File and scroll down to a window that's an option that says Build Settings. You'll want to take a look at your build settings and make sure that you have all the appropriate content necessary to build games for the class. You should see a screen on the left that says Platform, and you want to make sure that you've got PC, Mac, and Linux standalone selected. And you'll also want to take a look at this Target Platform window. It's a little drop down on the right side that says Windows. and you'll want to make sure that Windows is selected. If you don't see that option available, so if you're looking at the target platform window and you can't seem to find the Windows option, you need to install Windows Build Support. And that's something that typically happens if you're trying to build Unity projects on a non-Windows PC. It's an option that you'll get during Unity installation. And I mentioned during my installation notes that you should make sure you select that option. But if you haven't, there's an announcement in our web courses section that explains how to get build support on a different system that's not a Windows system. But it doesn't matter if you are on a Mac or a Linux computer or something like that. You can still create a Windows build, which means you can create all the necessary content for this class, regardless of what type of system you're on. So now that we've gotten the build support content set up and we've made sure that our build settings are correct and everything like that, we can actually jump into creating our simple Hello World program. And the program that we're going to create, again, is extremely simple. It's only going to involve a couple steps inside of the Unity editor itself. And these steps are mostly going to be designed to get you used to working with the editor and figuring out where things are and maybe creating a little bit of code. So the first step we're going to do here is we're going to scroll up to the top of the window. You'll see some options on the toolbar, you file, edit, assets, etc. And I'm clicking on the one that says Game Object. Once you've got Game Object clicked on, we're going to scroll all the way down to where it says UI. It'll give you a drop-down menu, and we're going to select Text. So clicked UI, clicked Text, and now we have something in the game. You see this object that says Text, and then this other thing that says Canvas, and then this thing that says Event System. These are all referred to as game objects, and that's the way that Unity designs games. You build games in Unity typically by creating lots of game objects and giving them different properties that tell Unity what they're supposed to do. What we've basically just done is created a text game object. So all we're really doing is putting some text on the screen. That's essentially our entire goal here. Now, you might notice that right now, if we switch over to the game view, which you can see a couple options here that I'm highlighting with my mouse, one says scene and one says game, we can actually see the word new text popping up down here. If we look over to the right, this is referred to as the Unity Inspector, which shows you the properties of different game objects in your game. You can see that we've actually got our text selected and we've got a whole bunch of different properties that we can manipulate and do things with. And we're going to do a couple things here at this point to make this text more visible and just kind of do a few quality of life things that would make sense. So you want to make sure you've got the text selected in the hierarchy window over probably on the left side of your screen. And you want to make sure that you can see it in the inspector window on the right side of the screen here. And then we're going to just edit a few things of it. The first thing we're going to do is change this so that instead of saying new text, it says hello world. You'll see a box in your inspector. And if you look down a little bit halfway, you'll see one that says text script and then a text box that you can type in that currently says new text. I'm going to change that to say hello world instead. And you can actually see the change happen right in front of you. If you were paying attention to that game window, the new text actually immediately changed over to hello world. The next thing we're going to do is maybe make our text a little bit bigger, because right now that's kind of small and hard to read. So let's go from 14 to 48. There's an option that says font size, and I went ahead and increased my font size to 48. Now you might be wondering where my text just went, because it suddenly disappeared. What's going on is the text no longer fits inside of the space that we've selected on the screen to put that text inside of, and we can fix that by changing a couple properties in the inspector. If you look under this paragraph option, we've got horizontal overflow and vertical overflow. And for both of them, we're going to go in and select overflow. And when we've done that, our text appears again, because now we've given it enough space to actually appear. What we're really doing is allowing it to overflow the space on the screen that we've given it, and so that allows it to pop back up. I also think the color is a little tricky to read, so I'm going to change the color from black to red, and there's a little color picker down there on your screen that you should be able to see. If you click on that and open it up, you can select a new color for your font. Okay, cool. So we've got Hello World on the screen. We've got it in a visible font. We've got it pretty big. I don't know if putting it at the bottom of the game window is necessarily the best idea, because right now we're seeing it at the bottom of the player screen, and that's exactly where they would see it. So we're going to fix that by moving the position of our text to a different location. So every object in Unity has what's referred to as a transform position, and a transform position is basically the object's location in 2D space. So you're going to see X, Y, and Z. Unity is inherently a 3D tool, so even though we're working in 2D, we can technically play with 3 dimensions and use the Z axis as well. But since we're using a 2D game, we're going to focus on X and Y here and not worry too much about Z. So right now, this text has a -240, -225, and 0 position. That's the X, Y, and Z coordinates that the text is located at. And that's not very good. It's at the bottom of the screen. It's something that probably, again, our player would be able to see it, but it would be kind of frustrating and annoying to work with. So what we're going to do is move it instead. So we're going to try some coordinates to see what coordinates might make sense. I'm going to put in 0 for my X coordinate, and it seems to move it to the center of the screen. I'm also going to go ahead and put in 0 for my Y coordinate, and that also seems to get it to the center of the screen. So to make things nice and simple, all we did was move that text from the coordinates of like -240 and 120 that it started at, I think, to 0 and 0 on the X and Y axis. And now we've got some text that displays in the middle of the screen, shows up, and would be quickly and easily visible to our viewer. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and take a break because we've done a few things in Unity already, and I know that I don't want to overwhelm you this first time around. In the next video, we're going to do a little bit of programming to go ahead and make that text change and show our name instead. And then I'll also show you how to build the game so that your user can play it. There's one small thing I want to show you before we quit, however. That is the ability inside of our canvas. So we're over here in the hierarchy menu again, and I've selected canvas, which the text is kind of hiding inside of. That's maybe a way to think about it. And we're going to make one small change to our canvas that will be useful to allow anybody, regardless of their screen size, to see our text looking the same way. And that's under this small little option that says UI scale mode under the canvas scaler in the inspector. So I've selected my canvas, I've gone down to canvas scaler, and I've got a little option here that says UI scale mode. I'm going to swap that from constant pixel size to scale with screen size. And what that means is regardless of the size of screen my player is looking at this text on, they're going to essentially see it as looking the same size every single time. The last thing we want to do probably before we quit this video is save our project to make sure that we don't lose all the stuff we've already done. So all I'm going to do is click the File menu and scroll down to Save Projects, and that's it. My project is saved, and I'm in good shape. So that covers the basics of Unity, and all we've done right now is created a simple game that shows the Hello World text. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to change that text to show your own name and how to actually build this game so that somebody could play it.